Hey, Andy.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
I'm doing great today, despite all this rain. How about you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, it's a little dreary day out there today.
It is. It is.
So we have a weekend coming up, and I think the weather's supposed to be pretty decent for the weekend. A little cooler, but still good house showing weather.
I hope so. I've got an open house tomorrow downtown, so
Oh, good. Yeah, I think the rain's supposed to be out in time for that, so it
I
should be
hope so.
good.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I run across this from time to time in my world of mortgage. And what I'm talking about is I'll have a buyer that we have pre-approved to buy a home who will call me and say, "Hey, we are going to look at a house. Actually, we've gone to look at a house. It's new construction and we're thinking about putting an offer on it. Can you prepare a pre-approval letter for us at X number of dollars?" And of course, the answer is yes. But then I start asking questions of, who do I need to send the pre-approval letter to? In other words, who's your realtor? Who's representing you? And I'm really, I see this a lot where the buyer will say, I'm using the real estate agent that was present at the neighborhood in the sales office or the model home. That's the real estate agent that I'm using. And I'm thinking, well, then you're buying the house with no representation. Is that right? And if that is true, is that a good thing or a bad thing? What's the situation there in your opinion?
Well, you're absolutely right. That agent that is in that house, that model home, works for the builder. So he or she represents the seller, basically. And if a buyer goes in there, you're right, they are unrepresented if they don't have their own realtor. And that agent, even they should not tell them that you're going to get a better deal if the company doesn't have to pay your buyer's agent. That's not true either. It's just more money in that builder's pocket. They fully Everyone that I've ever dealt with fully expects to pay a buyer's agent. And I can think of two situations in my 7 years as a realtor where my buyers um, bought a house that was in new construction, where I had to really step in because there were some things that were not handled in looking out for the interest of the buyer. And in one particular case, and this was a um, national builder, if you will. And so I had to go up the chain of command in the company several steps on the ladder, so to speak,
Yeah.
in order to get an issue handled for my buyer. And so in that instance, it protected them. I had another one, actually, that one was in South Carolina before I moved back here. And I had another instance here where it was new construction. It was a spec home. And I suggested that they have a radon inspection.
Yeah.
Turns out radon was found. And the way that works here in Alabama or anywhere, one house could have it and the house next door could not have it. There's no prediction for that. And that's even another thing. You should always have even new construction inspected by a good home inspector. But anyway, we had to negotiate the remediation of that. And I guarantee the agents that work for the builders are not suggesting those things. So if a buyer doesn't know, they're just coming into that situation somewhat blinded and trusting somebody who really is not representing them.
Yeah. So they're really not getting a better price on that new construction house by just using that one agent that's on site.
No, no. If you've ever if a buyer has ever been in that situation most of the time. There's a base price for the house, and then there are prices for the cafeteria items, if you will, all of the options that go into it. It's usually in a book, and they're all set. Everything is predetermined. So no, they're not going to get a better price.
Okay.
But they need to come with representation for their best interest to be protected.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought up the topic of having the home inspection on new construction, because so many people say, well, it's brand new. We don't need to get it inspected. And I've heard some pretty amazing stories from home inspectors about some new construction projects
Sure.
that they've inspected. So yeah, it's a good idea to get those inspections, for no doubt.
Absolutely. And then something else that a buyer can do is to put on their calendar, if they so choose, at 11 months in the home, to have that inspector come back and inspect again. It might cost them $300 or $400, but if there's anything that needs to go on a punch list, because what happens at 1 year in that home?
There's a warranty that is going to expire.
Correct.
Yeah,
So if there's anything that needs to be fixed, wouldn't it be worth somebody's $300 or $400 to be able to ask that builder to fix it?
yeah.
So
That's a great point, Susan. That really is. And you know, this video has been full of really good information that I'm sure a lot of buyers would find helpful, because it just seems like, and I don't know really, maybe you know or can remember when that switch flipped, but it just seems like new construction or older homes that have been remodeled are what are most desirable for buyers now, because buyers don't want to move into a home and have to do work. They want to move in and just live life. And I get that.
many do not prefer to have to do work when they get in. So
Yeah.
you're right. And because of our shortage in inventory, these new home communities are going under contract extremely fast.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we need all of that. So,
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. We definitely need the inventory, and home builders are a major piece of what will eventually be the solution to this home shortage that we have.
I would
So,
also go as far to say too, sometimes these large builders will have their own mortgage companies or people that they deal with, and they'll say they offer this or that incentive to use their people. But my suggestion to a buyer would be to do their due diligence and check with a local person, because a local lender might be able to give them the same deal.
right. Yeah, there've been situations in the past where we've either matched or beaten
Mhm.
those in-house, the construction build or the builder's lender, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, that's a great point to bring up as well. So this
So,
has been great.
yeah.
Any other thoughts before we call it a week?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you on new construction. And so appreciate all you do, and
Thank you.
we'll look forward to next time.
That sounds great. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I do look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Andy. You
All
too.
right. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Susan.